Hey guys, and welcome to this review of Tales of Vesperia for the Xbox 360. Tales of Vesperia had a lot of hype surrounding its release, much like many of the other games in the Tales series. Then again, what RPG that comes out from Japan doesn't get a whole hype slapped all over it ever since Final Fantasy VII came out and revolutionized the genre to something as big as it is today? I would say this one, however, does answer all that hype, considering it's the game that has been credited to have sold the Xbox 360 for the first time ever over in Japan, and also does the Tales series proud with its cliche but funny story and characters. And that's what I'm going to be going into next, story and characters. So you play a character called Yuri Lowell, who's after a Blastia thief that has created chaos in the lower quarter in the Imperial capital where you live. You then get put in jail and you rescue a young girl called Estelle, who is your healer for most of the game. And they both set out on the different agendas at the Imperial capital with Yuri's trustworthy sidekick. No, Yuri's trustworthy sidekick is not that woman, because that woman's name is Judith. The character I'm talking about is the dog smoking a pipe. Yes, repeat. Throughout the game, you meet new characters such as Rita Mordio, the genius mage, and Raven, the old man archer. However, the character roster is ruined by Carol. Now, why is this? Because he just sounds like another Sonic character. One that's out of place and doesn't really need to be in there and is really annoying. Could you please stop doing this games and start getting better voice actors? God damn it. But he does have one use, I will say this. He can heal people outside of battle. And that is very helpful if you don't want to waste Estelle's TP for healing people outside and rather using it inside. So next, it's graphics. This game is the first in the Tales series to be available in HD. And even though the game is not pushing any graphical boundaries, both the in-game graphics, such as the cracking effect which happens when you encounter a monster, which I think looks... I love it. I think it looks brilliant. And the cutscenes, anime-style cutscenes are also pretty good as well. And even though some people have complained about these, which are called skits, which were, for me, certainly, first of all, apparent in Tales of Symphonia for the GameCube, I certainly think they're nicely presented. And even though they do look slightly old-fashioned and a wee bit out of place, I certainly don't think it takes anything away from the game, especially, since it certainly brings in a lot of character development, and it has some pretty funny moments in it, in which Carol mostly, probably for about 50% of them, probably gets either hit on the head by Rita Mordio or gets bitten by Repeat the dog, which is always a bonus when you see a character like that getting bitten or punched. The next thing we're talking about is sound. The game's opening piece certainly does stay in your head for a long time, and I love this opening soundtrack, and not in a bad way either, much like the Street Fighter 4 one, which I'm sure if you've seen the review for that I did, you'll certainly agree that that one was bloody awful. So, apart from the opening theme, the encounter music can only be described as Pokemon, which is very repetitive and will get on your bloody nerves after a bit of time. The only time it ever changes is when you fight a boss. The boss music is fairly different, and it kind of stays consistent throughout the whole game unless you're fighting what they call an important boss fight, in which case it changes ever so slightly. Apart from the game music, game character music, and the opening piece, I think the music overall is fairly well done, with each town having a separate orchestrated piece. However, for example, in this piece here, the music is kind of all tense, because the town is under attack by monsters. And then we go into this part here, where it goes back to the normal town music, and you have a completely different set of music, and I think that's very nicely done. I have a particular favourite though, and that is Dongrest, the Guild City, which you probably can't see very much of because I recorded it when it was dark. But I don't really need to show the graphics, I'm kind of talking about the sound. I think the sound is awesome for this part. It's certainly my favourite part of the game. Certain part of game sound, except for maybe the opening track. So it's pretty close. Next, I'm going to be talking about gameplay and controls. In terms of gameplay, the game doesn't play a lot differently to Tales of Symphonia, where you're placed in a circular ring and then left to your own devices to repeatedly, over and over and over and over and over again, just kick the crap out of any monsters you find. Or if you feel like not doing anything, then you can just stand about and wait for the AI to do it. But they'll probably waste their mana in doing so. But there are a lot of other things that keep you more interested. I mean, I certainly don't find it too boring, but I think after a while it will certainly get really boring. But, I mean, the enemies, look at the enemies. The enemies are awesome as hell. I mean, you're fighting bunny rabbits here. Why are you killing bunny rabbits? And there's a big tree stump with white leaves on top of it walking towards me. Why? Because they like to try and be a bit inventive, and invention is always good, especially when you get to beat the crap out of invented monsters that will certainly make you laugh. And there are some other ones that I'm sure if you get this game you will laugh at as well. And one of them is certainly this, the snowmen heads on snowflakes. They're funny as hell. You also find random tree stumps around about the place that give you items, which is rather strange, but I'm not really going to complain about that. Next is controls. The controls for this game, I think, are fairly poor. You have to do B to attack and A to special attack, and you have to hold down left trigger to run around. I mean, that's silly. Just swap them around and don't make free run just free run rather than having to hold down a trigger. So what can I say about this game overall? For a Tales fan, I would say this is a very good addition to the series with its good character roster, except Carol, and good story. For an RPG fan, I would say yes, also yes, since the combat system is crisp, and even though the story is rather cliche, I'm sure if you're an RPG fan, you will know what to expect from an RPG. However, I will say, if you have a PS3, then wait for the game to come out on the PS3. Because Microsoft didn't pay enough money to Namco for them to have dubbed all the different cutscenes, such as the important ones like these ones, for example. And they also get a fully new additional character with a completely different story called Anne Fleur. To explain this, I think I'll let Bill Gates from our famous episode of The Simpsons.
Hey, what the hell's going on?
Oh, I didn't get rich by writing a lot of checks.
I hope you enjoyed my review of Tales of Vesperia for the Xbox 360. Peace out.